The movie begins with a girl named Ismir, who constantly feels lonely and disconnected from those around her. She has no real friends and spends most of her time on social media, searching for companionship. Her phone becomes her closest friend, and she is always glued to it, even during school hours. Despite receiving several warnings from her teacher, she refuses to put it away. One day, the teacher, frustrated with her behavior, confiscates her phone. Ismir is devastated. Feeling helpless, she protests, insisting that her phone is the only friend she has. Concerned about her emotional state, the teacher contacts her father and asks him to come to the school. Her father, a strict yet caring army officer, arrives and talks to her with patience. He explains that true friendship is much deeper than what she sees online. Real connections are built on love, trust, and shared experiences, not just virtual interactions. However, Ismir still feels unwanted and tells her father that no one likes her. He gently reminds her that her family loves her dearly and compares her to a precious gem, urging her to take care of herself. Though she nods, her feelings of loneliness don't fade. When she returns home, she isolates herself once again, longing for someone to simply say, "I love you." One day, Ismir receives a message from someone that simply says, "Good night." At first, she is annoyed by the message, but after a few days, she starts talking to the sender again. The person introduces himself as John and says that he, too, is lonely and needs someone to talk to. This makes Ismir happy because she has finally found someone who genuinely cares about her feelings and thoughts. They quickly discover they share similar interests and a deep emotional connection. The two exchange phone numbers and stay in constant contact. John lives in France, while Ismir is in the city of Izmir, Turkey. Even though they are about 3,391 km apart, the distance does not stop their growing friendship, and they find ways to keep the conversation flowing without interruption. Ismir feels that John likes her for her personality and words, not her appearance. She values the depth of their connection and begins to trust him more. Because of this, John becomes the center of Ismir's world, and she often daydreams about the possibility of meeting him in person one day. One day, John asks Ismir to show him her face. At first, Ismir feels shy and tries to hide the blemishes on her face with makeup and by covering her skin. She is afraid of rejection. When she finally shows her face, John tells her she is very beautiful. This makes Ismir like him even more, as his words feel sincere. But when Ismir sees John's face for the first time, she is surprised by how attractive he is. His handsome appearance makes her heart race, and she feels even more drawn to him. At that moment, a woman enters John's conversation, and he quickly ends the call. Ismir feels that John has lied to her, and doubts begin to creep in about the true nature of his feelings. The next morning, after crying all night, Ismir is woken up by her mother's voice. Her mother wants to know what happened, but Ismir becomes upset and insists it's nothing. Her father hugs her to calm her down and takes her to school. On the way, Ismir thinks about John and tells herself that he must be living with someone else and has lied to her, which makes her feel even more betrayed and confused about their relationship. Meanwhile, John has a dream about someone drowning and wakes up in a panic, feeling an overwhelming sense of guilt and dread. When Ismir returns home, she receives a message from John. He confesses that his real name is Edge, explaining he never intended to hurt her. Ismir is deeply hurt by the lie and tells him she can no longer continue with someone who has deceived her, as trust is essential to her. However, Edge explains that his real life is very complicated, and promises that one day he will tell her everything. Ismir decides to give him another chance, and their relationship goes back to normal. She feels happy again, but deep down, she is afraid that one day Edge might leave her, leaving her heartbroken. From the moment they started their connection, Ismir and Edge orchestrated every part of their lives as if they were in perfect harmony. Their shared moments, like watching the same movie at the same time in different cinemas, became their secret ritual, bridging the gap that distance had placed between them. Even when rain fell, Ismir asked Edge to hold out his hand beneath it. She wanted to feel as though they were together, standing under one sky, united by the same drops of water. Despite the love that flowed between them, Ismir could not escape the loneliness that distance brought. A quiet dread settled in her heart, wondering if their love could endure the miles and isolation. In these moments of doubt, Edge would reassure her with a promise: one day they would meet. This promise was her anchor. It held her steady through the darkest days, as she clung to the belief that their reunion was not just a dream but an inevitable reality. Yet, happiness is often fragile, and it was at the height of their joy when Ismir's world shattered. News came that her parents had died in a car accident. The weight of the tragedy was unbearable, a crushing wave of sorrow that swept away all her strength. She remembered their gentle smiles, their unwavering support, and the warmth of their love. In an instant, she was lost in grief, and her connection with Edge faded as she retreated inward, unable to respond to his messages. His words, full of concern and care, went unanswered. Ismir was consumed by a grief so deep, she could no longer find the strength to carry on. Her body, too, gave way to the emotional turmoil, and she collapsed, needing medical care. But even in the quiet of her hospital room, she felt the distance between her and everything she once held dear. The promise of meeting Edge one day seemed far away, as if the world had shifted, leaving her to navigate the pain alone. Her uncle suggests that she move to America, but she refuses, unwilling to leave behind the familiarity of her hometown and the memories of her parents. Eventually, Ismir decides to continue her studies in Istanbul, hoping to find a fresh start. She goes to the university dorm alone, and for the first time, she feels truly isolated and lonely. At the university, she meets a girl named Buse, who has had a difficult life herself. Buse tries to lift Ismir's spirits, offering a kind ear and encouragement. Ismir shares the story of her love with Edge, and Buse advises her to continue the relationship despite the distance. After a while, Ismir contacts Edge again, and their bond is rekindled. Edge, noticing a celebration at Ismir's university, encourages her to have some fun and enjoy the moment. But before going to the party, Ismir asks him why he couldn't be there for her when her parents died, revealing her lingering pain. At the party, a boy starts to harass Ismir, making her uncomfortable. Edge calls her at that moment, and when he hears the boy laughing beside her, his jealousy flares up, and he hangs up the phone abruptly. Ismir's friend quickly takes her away from the crowd, but suddenly Ismir feels unwell, her emotions overwhelming her, and collapses on the ground. She is quickly taken to the hospital, where it is revealed that Edge had previously undergone surgery, which led to his physical weakness and ongoing bleeding. When Ismir returns to the dorm, she receives a package from Edge. Upon opening it, she finds a soft blanket with beautiful, warm lighting that brightens her spirits. Ismir cries out of happiness, touched by the gesture, and immediately sends Edge a heartfelt message to thank him. Edge is happy to see her joy but still feels uneasy about the boy who was laughing next to Ismir. His insecurity leads him to pressure Ismir, urging her to tell the boy that she loves someone. But Ismir, hesitant, explains that she doesn't want to create unnecessary tension or upset anyone. This conversation makes Edge upset, and in his frustration, he angrily hangs up the phone. That night, Edge is haunted by a nightmare about someone drowning, leaving him distressed. The next morning, in a state of anxiety, he calls Ismir and confesses something unimaginable, that he is a killer. He tells her a heartbreaking story about how, in a tragic accident, he unintentionally killed someone in Turkey and had to flee to France to escape the consequences. Ismir is left in stunned silence, shocked to hear such a confession. But when she hears the chilling sound of a gunshot over the phone, panic rises within her. She pleads desperately with Edge, begging him not to commit suicide. But after the tense silence, Edge hangs up, leaving Ismir in agony, and stops answering her calls, plunging both their worlds into uncertainty. Unable to calm down from intense worry, Ismir immediately books a plane ticket and flies to Paris. When she arrives at Edge's house, he opens the door, surprised yet overjoyed to see her. Ismir, convinced that he had hurt himself, bursts into tears and scolds him for being reckless. Edge gently reassures her, holding her close, and promises he won't do something like that again. Wanting to be completely honest, he opens up about his life, his complicated family dynamics, and the deep struggles that led him to escape to France. Wanting to lift her spirits, Edge decides to take Ismir on a dreamy tour around Paris, fulfilling their shared wish of walking together under the rain. They cherish their time together, but eventually Ismir must return to university, and the bittersweet moment of parting arrives. On her way back, tragedy strikes. Ismir is involved in a severe accident and is rushed to the hospital. Upon hearing the news, a panicked Edge arranges for his family to look after her. She is taken to Edge's family home, where everyone warmly welcomes her except for his brother, Ali, who remains cold and distant. Edge's mother personally leads Ismir to his room, and she is delighted to be in his cherished space. However, her joy is short-lived when she notices a framed photo of Edge with a girl named View, the same mysterious girl she had previously seen at the CAF. The realization leaves Ismir stunned and full of questions. The next morning, Edge gently wakes Ismir and tells her that he is ready to travel to the farthest place in the world just for her. He confesses that he sneaked into the house like a thief because he wanted Ismir to be the first person to lay eyes on him. When his mother sees him, she is utterly shocked, but his father's reaction is far less welcoming. He immediately scolds Edge, furious that his reckless actions could put the entire family in danger. Even his brother Ali reprimands him, accusing Edge of living like a prince in France while being completely oblivious to the hardships his family has faced in his absence. Despite the tension, Edge remains firm in his choice and takes Ismir out for a much-needed day of fun. Ismir, unable to shake her curiosity, wants to ask about View and Edge's connection to her, but before she can, Edge leads her to his parents' house. He wishes to properly say goodbye to the beautiful memories that shaped him. Before leaving, he notices the bouquet his father had once sent him, a gift he had carelessly ignored. As he picks it up, a realization washes over him. His father had loved him deeply all along, but he had been too preoccupied with another kind of love to recognize it. After bidding farewell to his past, he finally turns the page and, in a way, says goodbye to the version of himself he once was. Edge, determined to avoid being caught, secretly sneaks back to France by sea. The journey is long and exhausting, but as soon as he arrives, his first thought is Ismir. He eagerly asks her to go to the cinema with him, hoping for a simple, joyful moment together. However, Ismir remains haunted by the image of View and Edge in the photo, unable to shake her growing doubts. Instead of going to the cinema, she makes a bold decision. She follows View, desperate to uncover the truth behind their connection. What she discovers leaves her in complete shock. Later that night, when Ismir returns, Edge casually asks her about the movie, but something feels off. Realizing she never actually went to the cinema, his tone changes. Suspicion fills the air as he accuses her of secretly meeting someone else. Furious, Ismir fires back, revealing that she went to meet View, his ex-girlfriend. She confesses her deep loneliness, admitting that she needs him more than ever. Just as their emotions peak and they begin discussing the past, Ismir suddenly collapses, poisoned. Rushed to the hospital, Ismir lies in bed, feeling an even deeper pain than her illness, the pain of Edge's silence. He hasn't called or even checked on her. When he finally appears, she looks at him with tearful eyes and says, "You're upset with your father, but you're exactly like him. You just want to control my life." The weight of her words lingers. They find themselves back at square one. With a heavy heart, Ismir returns to university, shifting her focus to her scholarship and trying to move forward, even as unanswered questions remain. At the same time, View unexpectedly reappears and secretly forms an agreement with Ali, Edge's brother, to execute a calculated plan against Ismir. As events unfold, the shocking truth is revealed: Ali had been the mastermind behind all the chaos. His motive? A twisted mix of love and revenge. Ali had been deeply in love with View, but when she rejected him, bitterness consumed him, and he decided to take revenge on his own brother. Blinded by jealousy, Ali becomes furious when he sees Edge protecting View. In a fit of rage, he commits a terrible act, drowning the boy who had been harassing View in the pool, all in a cruel attempt to frame Edge. But the web of lies eventually unravels. Overcome with guilt, Ali confesses everything to View, exposing his true role in the scheme. The police arrest him, and Edge is finally cleared of all accusations. Despite his newfound freedom, Edge makes a life-altering decision. He refuses to return to his homeland, knowing his brother had turned his life into a carefully constructed trap. When Esmir hears the news, she doesn't hesitate. She rushes to France to be by Edge's side. When they reunite, their love proves strong enough to withstand every obstacle thrown their way. However, beyond their personal story, there is a deeper message for the reader. Relationships that begin in the digital world don't always end in happiness. Love in the virtual space can be deceptive, and one must always approach it with caution and wisdom. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give me your support with likes and comments.